It's not been declared because there's a lot of dispute between the different landowners.
Absolutely, I think it's essential to have it proclaimed as a World Heritage Site.
The benefits are enormous. Once the area has been proclaimed in South Africa, then international laws will also be applied. There's already a white paper.
What's the point of having a World Heritage Site? Well, first and foremost, there will be rules and regulations that we all have to comply with.
Privatise it and declare it.
Then I'll be able to tell all the tourists that this is in fact a World Heritage area.
The Vredefort Dome is a geological wonderland not far from Johannesburg in South Africa. UNESCO declared it a Natural World Heritage Site in 2005 because it is the oldest and largest meteorite impact site in the world. 10 sites in South Africa have achieved World Heritage status since 1999. The Vredefort Dome may be a UNESCO-declared World Heritage Site, but in terms of our own laws, it's not. Who is to blame? The answer lies in the differences among landowners and the indecisiveness of government and provincial authorities.
Unfortunately, politics played a role every time. It was first the Free State against the Northwest, or the Northwest against the Free State. It was then the national government, and as, if I may say, politicians, they talk a lot, but they can't do anything.
The main reason for the difficulties is, I think, perceptions, different perceptions. On the one hand of the landowners, on the other hand perhaps of government officials.
Besides its natural beauty and unique biodiversity, the Vredefort Dome made the World Heritage Cut because of the area's geology. It is also the only place in the world where scientists can study an eroded remnant of a large crater made by the impact of a meteorite.
Hierdie ene is nou 'n lekker ou ene. Hy's baie mooi blootgestel. Mens kan hom kom bestudeer. Dit is ook 'n groot geologiese laboratorium. En omdat hierdie ding diep ingedring het, hy het hier 26 km in die aardkors ingedring en alles uitgespoeg. Nou kry jy in die middel klippe wat eens op 'n tyd 26, miskien oor die 30 km diep begrawe was. En as jy van daar af uitloop buitentoe, dan loop jy soos op 'n groot boorgat se kern, loop jy uit en uit en uit. Jy sien die hele aardkors tot op daai diepte.
It happened more than 2,000 million years ago. At that time, Vredefort consisted of basically 4 geological layers. Granite formed the bottom. Above that was the Witwatersrand supergroup containing gold-bearing conglomerates. The third layer consisted of volcanic Ventersdorp lavas, and the top layer, or Transvaal supergroup, was a compilation of sedimentary rock types such as dolomite, shale, and quartzite. To create a crater more than 90 kilometers wide, the meteorite must have been the size of Table Mountain, or even larger. It traveled at almost 40,000 kilometers an hour. The layers of the geological sandwich were at first deformed into a great dent with the crater in the middle. Around the crater, beds were overturned. In a matter of seconds, a rebound followed that filled up the crater and caused further up and overturning. From very deep, granite and gold-bearing conglomerates were brought to the surface, and after being exposed to the elements for millions of years, the structure and possible remnants of the meteorite have been eroded to a level where no crater can be distinguished. Although the crater is missing because of erosion, there are still enough shock-induced geological features to be studied. One can clearly see upturned and overturned rocks. Before the impact, these rocks were buried deep in the Earth's crust. Some estimates say up to 20 kilometers. Breccius referred to a variety of broken-up rocks, and they were formed when shock waves caused rocks like chert to explode. Granophyre tells a story of melted rocks and rapid cooling. The molten mass flowed into fractures caused by the impact, together with a shower of fragments from other rocks in the vicinity, maybe even from outer space. Shatter cones are evidence of shock in rock layers beneath meteorite impact craters. The geometry of a cone reveals the point of impact, the center of the crater, and also the direction of a shockwave. Pseudotachelite literally means looks like volcanic glass. Severe shock pulverized and fractured rock material to powder after impact. The powder and melt flowed into cracks and settled as a dark glassy material upon cooling. Archean granite separated the Earth's crust from its mantle at the time of impact 2,000 million years ago. The same granite forms the dome's central core or basement today. This is surrounded by younger granite that geologists refer to as Parijs granite. Conglomerate rocks with embedded white quartz pebbles indicate fast-flowing water at the time when this sedimentary layer was the surface. Some geologists believe that the Vredefort blast forced rich gold deposits to the surface in the mining areas of the Witwatersrand and Free State. Old mine dumps and tunnels tell the story of gold seekers in the 1880s who never made it rich and who left the dome penniless, hoping for better luck in the Witwatersrand. But in the beginning of this millennium, mining companies became interested in the dome's gold deposits once again. This caused a considerable stir among conservationists in the dome.
Hierdie area is so uniek in terme van natuurskoon en die sensitiwiteit van die ekosisteme dat dit amper ondenkbaar is om te dink dat 'n mynmaatskappy hier kan inkom en oopgroefmyne maak in areas versteur met klowe waarin bome bestaan wat etlike honderde jare oud is. Verder vanuit 'n wêreldwye besienswaardigheid is hierdie 'n geologiese struktuur wat deur internasionale wetenskaplikes op 'n gereelde basis bestudeer word.
Ons gaan alles in werking stel, al moet ons internasionaal te werk gaan, maar alles binne ons vermoë sal ons voortgaan om hierdie aksies te stuit. Hierdie gebied voldoen aan alle kriteria wat benodig word vir die stigting van 'n wêrelderfenisgebied. Ons het dus goeie moed dat ons hier in ons doel sal slaag om hierdie aksies van die mynbedrywighede gestuit te kry.
The threat of open-cast gold mining in the dome was an impetus for conservationists and scientists to get the area listed as a World Heritage Site.
At that time, there was a conservancy of the landowners, and they opposed the mining. And one of the ways to oppose that was to get the site declared as a World Heritage Site.
The process of getting listed as a World Heritage Site is a straightforward one. There are 3 types of World Heritage Sites. The first step is a tentative list of sites compiled by a state party. State parties are countries that are signatories to the World Heritage Convention. Next, the state party nominates sites from the tentative lists to be considered as a World Heritage Site. Specialized sections of the World Heritage Committee, or WHC, then evaluate and decide if the nomination is worthy of being listed as a World Heritage Site. If the nomination is successful, the state party has to proclaim the site by its own law as a World Heritage Site. The Vredefort Dome was inscribed by UNESCO as a World Heritage Site in July 2005 at its 29th session in Durban. It was primarily done because, according to the WHC, the Vredefort Dome is the oldest, largest, and most deeply eroded complex meteorite impact structure in the world. It is the site of the world's greatest single known energy release event. A lot of the preparations from the South African side was done by Professors Frans Wanders and Andries Bischoff, as well as a renowned geologist, Dr. Martin Brink.
What they normally do, it is a closed vote and electronic or by paper. Some of them amazing at that meeting in Durban, some were by paper, some were by putting the hand in the air, but this was a closed vote because it was a new announcement. And when the votes were counted, not a single vote was against declaring the Vredefort Dome as a World Heritage Site. We got a standing applaud from the whole community that was there.
The Free State and Northwest provinces share the World Heritage Site that is bisected by the Vaal River. The core area covers about 30 hectares. In the wake of the success in Durban, both the Northwest and Free State provinces made initial moves. A World Heritage Office and Information Centre was established in the Vredefort village in 2006, and its opening by the Northwest government was a festive affair.
Well, for the mere fact that we have established our presence here in this project today, that in itself is indicative of our seriousness with regards to this project.
The Free State province followed suit, and an impressive complex arose on a granite dome in the outskirts of Vredefort.
Our view as government is that it cannot be possible to draft a management plan by yourselves as the government officials or by entities or maybe consultants. What we have to do is to embrace everybody, people in the area, people in the surrounding area, because they are also liable to protect the area.
The excitement of being a UNESCO-declared World Heritage Site faded slowly as the proclamation of the dome by South African government encountered numerous obstacles. South Africa complied with all the requirements prescribed by the World Heritage Committee, except proclaiming it in accordance with its own Act 49 of 1999, the World Heritage Convention Act. Act 49 of 1999 makes provision for, among other things, the establishment of management authorities and an integrated management plan to protect the integrity of our World Heritage sites.
For all landowners, it is or should be important that the area be declared a World Heritage Site. If not, you can have uncontrolled developments, which is a serious threat for a site like this. There are a lot of unique features in the site. If it is not properly managed and protected, that it would be vandalized or taken away.
I think the Vredefort Dome area is becoming a disaster area. Pollution, destruction, etc., etc. The government not doing enough to preserve it. If you think of Syria, where ISIS came and tried to destroy everything. Afterwards, they tried to rebuild it, so they tried to protect.
In a television interview in 2007, the then Director General of the Department of Environmental Affairs and Tourism, Dirk van Schalkwyk, blamed problems with boundary delimitations and differences between landowners about how the area should be managed as primary reasons for the delay.
En ek glo, dit wat ons onderhandel het op hierdie stadium, dat die grondeienaars is ten gunste van dat die gebied beskerm moet word. Ek dink dit gaan rondom sekere voorskrifte wat daar mag geld, wat miskien vir hulle problematies kan wees en dit sal ons moet aanspreek.
Quite assured of himself, Van Schalkwyk promised that the dome would be proclaimed a World Heritage Site.
Van die departement se kant af poog ons om werklik hierdie gebiede almal teen 31 Maart volgende jaar verklaar te hê.
En jy vir my beloof vandag dat teen April volgende jaar dan is Vredefort koepel uitgesorteer en als in plek.
Heeltemal korrek.
More than 11 years have elapsed since Van Schalkwyk made his promise, and since then, the lack of dedicated management structures have impacted negatively on the natural environment in the dome. A scenic flight for tourists along the Vaal River with a noisy Huey helicopter did not only disturb the peace and tranquility of the dome, but also the breeding habits of the birds. Some lodge owners contributed to the pollution of the Vaal River by pumping their sewage into a river that is already one of the most polluted in South Africa. With no integrated management plan and a management authority, the development of structures in the World Heritage Site went unchecked. Since 2002, rehabilitated baboon troops were released in the dome. One release failed because nearly a third of the troop was poisoned and some baboons were shot. Despite warnings not to build the Vredefort Information Centre on an unstable granite dome, the Free State government went ahead at a cost of millions. Today, this structure has been declared unsafe and none of the local population has been empowered as promised. The state had to contend with landowners who did not see eye to eye about the management of the dome according to the stipulations of the South African Act. With the current debate about expropriation of land without compensation, this debate will probably intensify.
Of course, there was always, and still perhaps is, the fear of expropriation, in that the government might come and expropriate the land because of it being a World Heritage Site. I think other fears from the landowner side, and once again a generalization, not everyone, is perhaps that a mistrust of government, especially with bad governance.
There are two distinguishable groupings on the issue. On the one side is a conservancy composed of landowners and supporters that basically favour the dome being proclaimed a World Heritage Site by the 1999 World Heritage Convention Act.
The reason I think at this stage most probably is management. From all the different organizations, I think we've got a unity in the structure, but I think the conservancy at this stage is the way forward. This is not geology only, but I think nature as well, because we have such a diverse vegetation here. The microorganisms create such a huge thing. I think job creation can be unique if we can get this now registered as a World Heritage Site. I'm positive.
At the moment, this area is still falling under the normal country laws, the farming laws. So in theory, people can do the normal developments that they did previously. The regulations aren't so strict. And if you look at mining activities, they can get closer to the area and so forth.
What's important now is that South Africa as a country gives the same recognition to the site, and for that to happen, a proclamation needs to be done in order to align the proclamation and the way it falls within our own land management and land reform, that it's part of the South African legislation and that it's covered by that.
Sometimes I just keep quiet about the status of the World Heritage Area and rather show the people or tell the people other things about the uniqueness of the meteorite impact structure.
Opposed to the conservancy are landowner associations of the Northwest and Free State. At the heart of the quarrel are the powers and membership of the management authority.
Mense, as julle luister na die uitsprake,
Deval Negrini from the Northwest landowners was invited to participate in this documentary, and he accepted.
Luister maar net wat dilemma sê. My pa noem hom dilemma.
On the day the camera crew arrived at the arranged time at Negrini's farm in the dome, nobody knew about his whereabouts. When we phoned him, he said there must be some confusion, and he ended the conversation with the following remark: "I am an advocate and I'm at my chambers in Sandton. Anyway, I don't have time for playing games." Speaking at a public meeting of Northwest and Free State landowners on Saturday 8 May 2010 at Kumandunak, Negrini, who acknowledged the presence of the media, refused to attend a forthcoming meeting at that time between the government, conservancy members and landowner associations.
Die 24ste is daar 'n vergadering beroep. Ek het die uitnodiging hier om dit by te woon. Ek gaan dit nie bywoon nie. Ek sal dit nie bywoon nie.
Negrini also referred to property rights.
Jy weet, hulle voorvaders het rondgehardloop en mekaar gejaag sonder om te ag te slaan op grense enigstens. Daar is nie 'n program in hulle koppe wat eiendomsreg regtig verstaan nie. So dis dieselfde mense wat dan intern gaan besluite neem oor watter kommentare is geldig en nie geldig nie, en as dit klaar is daarmee gaan hulle finale stel regulasies finaliseer, en glo my, hulle sal dit nie eers vir ons wys nie, hulle gaan net proklameer daarmee.
Some say there is a light at the end of the tunnel, but at the end of 2018, very little real progress has been made to proclaim the Vredefort Dome as a World Heritage Site. Another setback was the death of Edna Molewa, Minister of Water and Environmental Affairs, in September 2018. Molewa was well aware and informed of the issues. Optimists, however, believe that obstructionists base their issues on unfounded fears and that these fears can be successfully resolved.
And I'm sure it's possible. I've got no doubt that if everyone has sufficient information and the correct information and they sit around a table, it can be sorted out expeditiously.
Thank you.